Why are the world's biggest brands suddenly circling one name, Jimin? Is this influence accidental, or is something far bigger unfolding behind the scenes? What is really happening behind the closed doors of the global industry when a single name keeps being mentioned, whispered, and fought over with an intensity never seen before? Why are so many major brands, from luxury fashion houses to the world's most influential creative labels, suddenly moving in the same direction, toward one figure who no longer needs an introduction? Is this merely a fleeting moment of popularity, or is there a deeper, more dangerous, and far more profitable force quietly at work? Before you read further, share your thoughts in the comments, hit like if you feel the tension building, and make sure to subscribe, because what unfolds here may not be revealed anywhere else. That name is Jimin. But this is not a story about who Jimin is on the surface. This is not a recap of neatly archived achievements, nor a list of statistics easily found elsewhere. This is about why global brand executives, creative directors, and the most powerful decision-makers in the industry are now looking in the same direction, with an unease they can barely conceal. They see something. They feel something. And more importantly, they fear what might happen if they move too late. In the world of branding, mass attraction never comes without reason. Major brands do not operate on emotion alone, do not take risks based solely on trends, and do not stake their identities on public figures without brutal calculation. So when a single name begins to surface repeatedly in closed-door meetings, private discussions, and long-term global strategies, the question shifts from why to how big will the impact be. Jimin does not simply draw attention, he disrupts balance. Over the past few years, the global industry has shown clear signs of fatigue towards safe faces, recycled formulas, and figures that feel predictable. Consumers have changed. They no longer seek cold perfection, they seek emotion. They no longer want distant symbols, but figures who feel real, vulnerable, powerful, and contradictory all at once. This is precisely where Jimin enters the picture, not as a manufactured product, but as a phenomenon that resists control. Major brands are seeing something that cannot be replicated through expensive campaigns or sophisticated visual concepts. They see resonance. They see how a single appearance can shift global conversation. They see how a subtle gesture can trigger emotional reactions across cultures. And most surprisingly, they see how this influence does not fade. It settles, deepens, and grows. Can this still be called mere popularity? In a world where exposure can be bought and visibility can be engineered, Jimin represents something far more dangerous to competitors: organic attraction. Attention that is not forced, but chosen. Loyalty that is not built through relentless advertising, but through unspoken emotional connection. Brands understand the value of this better than anyone, and they know that missing a moment like this can mean falling behind for years. What intensifies the tension is the fact that this interest does not come from a single sector. Fashion, beauty, luxury goods, lifestyle, and even brands once known for their exclusivity and silence are now sending the same signals. This is not coincidence. It is a pattern, and patterns in the global industry always indicate a shift in direction. Yet beneath all of this lies a more unsettling question. Does Jimin need these brands, or do these brands now need Jimin? The relationship between brand ambassadors and companies has traditionally been hierarchical. But in this case, that hierarchy is beginning to blur. When a public figure has the power to elevate a brand's symbolic value, not just sell its products, the balance of power shifts. And this shift is what makes many within the industry uncomfortable, even threatened. Some attempt to dismiss the phenomenon, labeling it a temporary hype. But those inside the industry know better. Hype does not sustain emotional consistency. Hype does not generate cross-generational conversation. And hype does not make major brands move with both extreme caution and aggressive intent at the same time. There is real tension. There is a silence that speaks volumes. And there is competition unfolding far from public view, yet deeply felt behind closed doors. Every brand wants to be first, but none wants to appear reckless. Every brand wants exclusivity, but none wants to misstep. And at the center of it all stands Jimin, a gravitational force that does not need to pull. They come on their own. This is what makes this story far bigger than a collaboration or a contract. This is about how a single individual can become the symbol of a global shift in taste, about how authenticity has become the new currency, about how emotion now holds greater value than visual perfection, and perhaps about how the global industry is being forced to confront a reflection it can no longer avoid. Is this the beginning of a new era in branding, or merely the opening chapter of something far more shocking? What makes this moment even more striking is that Jimin's pull does not rely on constant exposure. In an era where visibility is often equated with value, where public figures are expected to flood timelines and dominate headlines daily, Jimin operates differently. His presence feels deliberate, measured, almost restrained. And paradoxically, that restraint amplifies his impact. When he appears, the industry notices. When he is silent, the industry speculates. For brands, this is not a weakness. It is leverage. Inside marketing circles, scarcity has always been a powerful tool. Limited editions sell out faster. Exclusive access creates desire. Jimin embodies this principle not through artificial limitation, but through authenticity. He does not overshare. He does not chase relevance. He allows relevance to come to him. That alone places him in a category few global figures ever reach. Executives are not blind to this dynamic. In private conversations, the discussion is no longer about whether Jimin is influential. That debate ended long ago. The conversation has shifted to timing, positioning, and risk management. When does a brand step forward? How closely should it align itself? How much creative freedom should be granted? These are not questions asked about ordinary ambassadors. These are questions reserved for figures who can redefine a brand's identity simply by association. Another element driving this unprecedented interest is Jimin's ability to transcend markets without diluting his identity. Many global ambassadors are tailored for specific regions, adjusted to fit cultural expectations. Jimin does not require that adjustment. His appeal moves fluidly across borders, languages, and demographics. He resonates in markets that rarely overlap, capturing attention from audiences with entirely different cultural references. For brands seeking true global cohesion, rather than fragmented regional campaigns, this is invaluable. There's also a deeper emotional layer that brands struggle to manufacture but desperately seek. Jimin represents contradiction without confusion. He embodies softness and strength, vulnerability and control, elegance and intensity. These dualities mirror the emotional complexity of modern consumers. People no longer want simple narratives. They want reflections of their own layered identities. Jimin offers that mirror without explanation, without justification. This emotional alignment translates directly into consumer behavior. When Jimin is associated with a product, the reaction is not passive interest. It is engagement. It is conversation. It is analysis. Audiences do not simply consume the image, they interpret it. They discuss it. They invest emotionally in it. From a branding perspective, this level of engagement is more valuable than reach alone. It signals long-term resonance rather than momentary attention. Yet with opportunity comes hesitation. Some brands are cautious, aware that aligning with a figure of this magnitude requires more than budget. It requires respect. Jimin cannot be reduced to a logo placement or a seasonal campaign. Any partnership must feel intentional, coherent, and mutually beneficial. Brands that fail to understand this risk backlash, not from Jimin, but from audiences who are deeply protective of authenticity. This is where the tension sharpens. Brands are no longer competing solely on who can offer the most lucrative deal. They are competing on who can offer the most meaningful narrative, who understands his artistry, who respects his individuality, who can coexist with his image rather than attempt to control it. This is a rare reversal of power in an industry long dominated by corporate authority. Observers within the fashion and branding worlds note that this shift reflects a broader transformation. The age of forced influence is fading. Consumers can sense when a partnership is hollow. They disengage quickly. In contrast, when alignment feels genuine, loyalty deepens. Jimin stands at the center of this transformation, not by design, but by consequence. What makes the situation even more complex is that Jimin does not need to rush. Time is on his side. Each year reinforces his relevance rather than eroding it. His evolution feels organic, not manufactured. Brands understand that desperation would weaken their position. The result is a careful dance, marked by strategic patience and quiet competition. Some industry insiders describe the atmosphere as unusually restrained. No dramatic announcements, no aggressive leaks, just signals, subtle gestures, quiet acknowledgments, carefully worded statements. It is as if the industry itself is holding its breath, aware that the next move could set a new standard. And perhaps that is the most telling sign of all. When an industry known for noise chooses silence, it usually means something significant is at stake. For Jimin, this moment represents more than professional opportunity. It reflects a rare convergence of artistry, timing, and cultural relevance. He is not simply being chosen by brands, he is revealing which brands understand the present moment. In that sense, every potential partnership becomes a statement, not just about commerce, but about values. As audiences watch this unfold, they are not merely spectators. Their reactions, discussions, and emotional investments actively shape the outcome. Brands are listening closely. They track sentiment. They analyze response. They understand that in this equation, the audience holds power equal to, if not greater than, corporate strategy. This dynamic creates an unusual transparency. Nothing happens in isolation. Every move is scrutinized, debated, and remembered. For brands, the margin for error narrows. For Jimin, the margin for impact widens. The question now is no longer whether this momentum will continue. It is how it will redefine expectations. Will future brand ambassadors be evaluated differently? Will authenticity outweigh visibility? Will emotional connection surpass traditional metrics? These are not hypothetical concerns. They are active considerations shaping decisions right now. As the industry stands at this crossroads, one truth becomes increasingly difficult to ignore. Jimin is not following the rules of branding. He is quietly rewriting them. And perhaps that is why so many brands are drawn to him, not just for what he represents today, but for what he suggests about the future. A future where influence cannot be forced, where presence matters more than noise, where emotion carries more weight than perfection, where audiences decide value, not algorithms. As this story continues to unfold, one thing is certain. The world is watching, brands are calculating, audiences are reacting, and Jimin remains, as ever, composed at the center of it all. So the final question lingers, unanswered yet impossible to ignore. When the dust settles, will this moment be remembered as a turning point for global branding? Or as the moment the industry finally acknowledged a power it could no longer control? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe this shift is permanent, or is the industry simply catching up to a reality audiences already understand? Like the article, share it, and stay subscribed, because this story is far from over, and what comes next may redefine everything we thought we knew about influence itself.